Tale of Amon, Book 1, Chapter 2. Wilhelm and Dietrich were laughing in the captain's quarters, a tiny cabin set off from the rest of the officers' bunks by an ugly green sheet. There was grime in every corner, and even though the men were used to the dim red light, it still made it difficult to make out details. Their laughter was harsh and derisive. They were swapping stories from their last shore leave, which was short-lived but entertaining, near Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. She was almost as good-looking as your sister, Wilhelm was saying when there was a knock at the curtain. Since sailors couldn't actually knock on a curtain, the submarine crewman would knock on the wall next to the curtain instead. "Ja, what is it?" asked Wilhelm irritably. Amon pushed the curtain aside and stepped in. "Ja, Lieutenant Gertsch, what is it?" Wilhelm asked again. "It's something unusual, Kapitan Lieutenant Milch." "What is it? What is unusual?" Wilhelm looked annoyed. He didn't like surprises. "Well, I found this little girl down by the missile tubes." "You found what? I can't hear." "This little girl," Amon said loudly. Wilhelm craned his neck, and Amon stepped aside so that the officers could see the girl, who was wearing very odd clothing. Black pants that weren't quite long enough to be pants, but longer than shorts. Black boots, different from any boots they'd seen, and flat black. A white long-sleeved shirt, and her long blonde hair in a ponytail. Her clothes looked clean and fresh, a contrast to the sweaty, dirty uniforms worn by the sailors. "What are you doing here, little girl?" asked Wilhelm. Amon wasn't sure he liked the gleam in Wilhelm's eye. The little girl said nothing. She just looked from man to man in the small room. She seemed perfectly calm. "What has she told you?" Wilhelm asked Amon. "Nothing. She hasn't said a word." "Where did you say you found her?" "By the missile tubes." "What was she doing down there? Stowing away?" "I don't know. I don't see how." "How could she have gotten aboard?" "Who cares?" said Dietrich, sounding annoyed. "She probably climbed on during shore leave." "So what are we going to do now? Take her back?" asked Amon hopefully. He didn't trust these men, not even Hans. He'd seen them do some horrible things on shore leave and to prisoners back in Normandy. "Nein," said Wilhelm. "We don't have time to take her back. We're in the middle of this mission." "So what are we going to do with her? Just feed her and keep her out of the way until we're done with the mission?" Amon asked, trying to will it to be true. "Nein, we don't have enough food for her and us too. She can started Amon, but he was interrupted. "We're going to send her back to Nova Scotia," smiled Wilhelm. Amon didn't like the sound of that. "Via missile tube?" asked Dietrich, grinning the way he did when they were making the kind of plans that turned Amon's stomach. "Ja," said Wilhelm, "but first I think we should have a little fun with her." "Okay," said Amon loudly. Both officers looked startled. Amon wasn't sure what he was saying, but he had to do something fast. "But I go first. I found her, and you owe me big from last shore leave. Let me go first, and we'll call it square." Wilhelm and Dietrich laughed cruelly. "Well, Amon, I always took you for a square, but you turn out to be a fun guy after all." He looked at Amon appreciatively. Amon tried to smile, but his mouth was dry. He grimaced. The men laughed again. "Don't look like that. We'll let you go first. Then it'll be our turn, and I think we'll go at the same time, ja?" Wilhelm laughed. Dietrich nodded. Amon was grim, his face drawn. He led the girl out of the officer's room and back down toward the missile tubes. His heart was pounding, and his mouth felt like he'd eaten a month's worth of crackers. He found a small closet off of the main hallway, just a tiny hole really, and totally full of cleaning supplies. But he pushed the girl into the closet and then climbed in. "Don't worry, little girl," he said. "I'm not going to let them hurt you. I don't know how, but I'm going to get you off of this sub safely." He felt frantic, not knowing even the first step of how he would do this. "I know," said the girl in strangely accented German. "You think you're rescuing me, but I'm actually rescuing you."